Hey pal, you wanna buy some, Slowpoke tails? Hey, come on, he's a C-tier Pokemon, nobody's gonna care. You'll come crawling back in, 4 generations. Hey man, where'd you get a Dragonite?
Hello there, you are watching the premium edit of the Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver in-game tier list. If for some reason you would like to see the full live stream with the chat enabled, you'll find a link to that and the Imported Cheese Fresh channel in the description below. Please subscribe because we are almost to 1,000 subscribers, which means that I get paid pennies for the live stream, and also more importantly, we get custom emotes back. Right now, the only one we can use is Budget Onix, which is really underwhelming. Much like Onix itself. I'm sure you didn't expect me to say that. We've added some heart and some soul. It's the Gen 4 remakes. It's really hot here in Japan, so to save on air conditioning, I'm gonna hit you with a really cold take. HeartGold and SoulSilver, pretty good games. They're probably my favorites, but I am biased. So I live in Kanto, but my family is literally from Johto. We're from Osaka, so that would be Goldenrod City. And I did a study abroad in Kyoto, which would be Ekritique City. So I'm real familiar with the Johto region. What's changed in the 2 generations since the original GSC? Quite a few things, and we're gonna talk about all of them. Probably the most major one would be the physical special split. So previously, whether a move was physical or special was determined entirely by the type. So all fire moves were special, all ghost moves were physical. Yeah, figure that one out. Now, whether a move is physical or special is determined by, like, what the move actually does. So Fire Punch is physical, and Flamethrower is special. For the most part, it's intuitive, although sometimes it's not. Like, for example, Sacred Fire is physical, which is actually good. But I don't know why it's physical. For the most part, this is a buff, because it means that you can use your stab or same type attack bonus moves with whatever your higher attack stat is. This is mostly a buff. Not always. We'll be taking a look at that in detail as we talk about each Pokemon. The stat experience system has been reworked into EVs, or effort values. This is probably the system most of you guys are familiar with, since it's what's been used since Generation 3. Basically, you can get bonuses to your stats based on which Pokemon you defeat. So if you defeat fast Pokemon, you yourself get a little bit faster, and the game doesn't show you any of this. Thanks, Game Freak. The thing is, you have to be really careful about which Pokemon you defeat, because you can only get a certain amount of these EVs before they stop mattering. And probably in an in-game playthrough, you're not going to care about this, you're just going to fight whatever you have to. So you end up getting a bunch of minor bonuses to all of your stats, whereas in the old Stat XP system, which is what Gen 2 and Gen 1 used, you could basically get max EVs in all of your stats. So the EV system ends up being a nerf to all of your Pokemon. And it doesn't affect enemies at all because they never had these bonuses to begin with. This really, really hurts one Pokemon that are slow, because now they've lost an edge that allows them to outspeed Pokemon they wouldn't otherwise. And it really hurts Pokemon that have bad attack. Because if you have good attack, it doesn't really matter if you get the bonus or not, you're still gonna beat things. And if you have bad attack, well, now you've lost this bonus that was allowing you to maybe hit some breakpoints you aren't able to without bonuses, so nerf to all your Pokemon, but a big nerf to slow Pokemon and weaker Pokemon. Badge boosts, also gone. You used to get passive stat bonuses for your badges, you just don't anymore, so that's another way that you, the player, have been nerfed. Don't worry, game's still pretty easy. Abilities have been added, and now exist. So all Pokemon now have passives called abilities, that simply give them a bonus most of the time. And most of them don't really matter at all, but if they do, we'll mention it. Natures now exist. So natures will either increase or decrease certain stats by 10% based on whatever nature your Pokemon has by RNG. So for example, the adamant nature increases your attack by 10%, decreases your special attack by 10%. You're probably not going to care about your nature too much during your in-game playthrough. 10% boosts or penalties do really matter, but I mean, you probably don't care, right? You're just trying to finish the game. Honestly, unless the nature is a disaster for your Pokemon, you don't really have to worry that much. The Gen 2 in-game meta was largely defined by the Elemental Punch-Out League. If you had arms, you were eligible to enter. The league has been deemed to be too powerful, and it's been banned. You can no longer buy the Elemental Punch TMs from the Goldenrod City department store. Instead, they're now tutor moves from the Battle Frontier, so they're now locked away. Like, these Elemental Punches are super hidden techniques that you need this master to teach you. Honestly, that's probably more fair, but it ends up being a massive nerf to a lot of Pokemon. There's a couple new held item options, most notably choice specs you can get at the Lake of Rage, and your mom, if you send her some money, might buy you a fashionable new choice scarf. I don't think it's going to affect the rankings too much, but I guess it should be mentioned that slower Pokemon can potentially put on that scarf, and special attackers can potentially put on those specs. Movesets have been updated. Most of them are better. Most of them. Perhaps most exciting. A lot of the absolute garbage that was added in Generation 2 can now say they have an evolution. And I think the Gen 4 evolution really showcases how Pokemon designs have changed. I will say, you can call me a Gen 1er. I do not like most of these. I really like some of them. Honchkrow, probably my favorite. But for a lot of these, I wonder how leftovers is still an item in the game, because you know that these Pokemon weren't leaving any leftovers. Why are they so wide? Rhyperior, why is it so fat? Like Magmortar and Electivire, why are they so fat? Licky Licky. I mean, yeah, that one makes sense. So what criteria am I actually using? This is an in-game tier list, which means I'm going to be evaluating these Pokemon based on how they help you get from your house to the Hall of Fame and eventually to this game's ultimate challenge, which is Red atop Mount Silver. So anything that's post-game, I'm just not gonna rank. I'm gonna throw them in the unknown dungeon. What criteria do I actually care about? Basically, I'm going to be favoring Pokemon that are fast, so they go first, that are strong, so they knock out the opponent in as few hits as possible, preferably one, and Pokemon that are available, which is kind of contentious. What do I mean by available? I simply mean that they're in the game, right? That you can obtain them early, and that they can contribute to your entire adventure. So that's why a Pokemon like Spearow is going to be ranked higher than a Pokemon like Doduo, because even though Doduo is, honestly, it's just strictly better than Spearow. Spearow is available right at the beginning of the game, and Doduo is much, much later. One thing you're gonna hear me say a whole lot is this Pokemon is underleveled. The Johto games are infamous for the completely whack leveling curve. Basically, as soon as you hit the route split in Ekritique, stuff starts getting critically underleveled. Pretty much anything to the east of Ekritique is gonna end up being way too low level to actually be used without significant investment, so a lot of those Pokemon, sadly, are gonna have to be penalized for that. And pretty much every Pokemon in Kanto is unusable, sadly. For the same reason that wild Pokemon levels in Kanto for some reason have not been scaled, although they did fix gym leader level, so the gym leaders actually fight you with real teams, but unfortunately the wildlife is still kind of pitiful. So HeartGold SoulSilver came with an accessory, the best thing ever, the Pokewalker. I remember getting that in high school, and it actually motivating me to stop being such a munchlax. So the Pokewalker, it's basically a pedometer that interacts with your game. You can send Pokemon to it, and then like level them up. It doesn't really work that efficiently for that. But more importantly, you can actually catch certain Pokemon earlier through Pokewalker than you would be able to in-game, because there's like a rudimentary catching minigame you can do through that. I'm not gonna count this. And I thought a while about this. I don't think we should count it because it is a peripheral that you have to actually purchase. I mean, it does come with the game, but have you seen how much this game costs? If you're not Mr. Moneybags, you're not getting this thing. It is outrageous, 120 base power. Maybe if you can afford to buy a bike in-game, you can maybe buy this Pokewalker. That's my main reason for not counting it, because most people cannot actually get one. And even if you pay to win by getting a Pokewalker, it's kinda RNG with how you encounter these Pokemon. It takes a while, and they're all really low level, so I don't think it's gonna matter much anyway. A big topic is trade evolutions, because they're really annoying. So if you're playing on a physical game, you gotta find someone else to trade with. Are you playing on a physical game though? I mean, like, probably not, right? For reasons we might have just gone over. Oh, big bucks. So if you're not playing on a physical game, there's ways to manipulate how your Pokemon evolve. So technically, trade evolutions can be gotten immediately, but then that makes those Pokemon really strong. So what certain fixes to your game can do is they can change trade evolutions to evolutions at certain levels. And I think that's sort of the most fair way to evaluate these, to assume that these Pokemon evolve at these certain levels, which they very legitimately do in normal gameplay. And what about stone evolutions? So there are a ton of evolutions that actually require elemental stones. Johto is weirdly stingy about evolution stones. It appears there was just a mass geological extinction in the 3 years between Gen 1 and Gen 2. They're so hard to get. One way to get them is certain trainers will sometimes challenge you to a Telefang, and if you're lucky, they'll just give you a stone. That's nice. The more reliable way to do it is through the Pokeathlon minigame. On certain days, you can get certain elemental stones. It's really annoying to manipulate the time. I mean, you can either like wait, or you can go ahead and use Chaos Control and set the time yourself. Really obnoxious to do that. I don't know if I'm gonna actively penalize Pokemon that require evolution stones that way, but I mean, it's gonna be in the back of my mind, and I'm gonna be kinda irritated on these Pokemon's behalf, because why are these stones so rare? You could just buy them in Gen 1 and it didn't make those Pokemon that good. Ugh. But previously, we were gonna have a Stealth Rocks or a Sacred Stones tier for these Pokemon that required stones, because most of them are just complete garbage, unless they can actually reach their final evolution. We're gonna assume you can get the stones. It's annoying though. Sunstone and Moonstone you can actually just pick up, and Shiny Stone, Dusk Stone, and Dawnstone are post-game, unfortunately. So what are the actual tiers? Well, at the very tippy top, we've got S. Maybe this should be SS for SoulSilver, huh? So these are for the very best Pokemon in the game that I would recommend you use. You don't have to use them, right? I mean, it's a kid's game. You can beat the game with anything, but you should use these Pokemon, right? They're going to be available for pretty much all of the game, and if not, they're here because they're super duper strong. Under that, we have A tier. I would consider these highly recommended. They maybe have like a couple minor flaws holding them back from total domination, but they're no slouches. They're very good. Then we have B tier. I would consider these Pokemon, yeah, above average. I'll give them a lukewarm recommendation. Not quite a fire type recommendation. I don't want to hurt myself here. But you can go ahead and use these Pokemon without feeling too embarrassed about it. And then, the long-awaited return of SEAC tier. It's back, baby! So, this is a special tier, pretty much for water types that are, like, indistinguishable from each other. Like, there's so many random water types that are, like, very whatever, but hey, they're water types, and water is ridiculously good, so they get to sort of float above the actual letter C tier. These Pokemon I would consider to be, like, average to slightly below average. They're okay. I mean, I guess you can use them. I think I would say they have critical flaws that prevent me from, like, outright recommending them, but, like, you can use them. Like, sure. Eh. Then we've got the D tier, D for don't bother. These Pokemon just suck. That's pretty much all I have to say about them. They're horrifically flawed. Use them for your challenge runs, basically. And then we have the Unown Dungeon. These Pokemon aren't actually bad. Mostly, this is going to be Kanto exclusive Pokemon that sort of come too late to really contribute to your adventure. Some of them would be really good if they were available earlier, and some of them would be crap if they were available earlier, so they kind of get saved by being in the Unown Dungeon. I think we're going to talk about where these Pokemon would be if they weren't Kanto exclusive, but for the most part, we're just going to kind of fling them in the Unown Dungeon and leave them there. I think it's about time to start our Johto adventure. Just kidding, did you actually watch the criteria or did you skip here with a time code? We're starting with number 1 in the Johto decks, and possibly number 1 in your heart, Chikorita. And as you can see, I myself have become a Chikorita to hopefully make my arguments more convincing. I've also got this can of chickpeas, so like I'm just a real chick magnet today. So Chikorita. It is one of your starter options, and it is the grass-type starter option. You may remember Chikorita as the worst starter ever in the original games. Have things gotten better? They can only go up, right? They haven't gotten better. They've gotten worse. Game Freak, have some goddamn mercy, why don't you? Yeah, they nerfed Chikorita. To be clear, they buffed Chikorita itself. It's a little bit better. But all of the mechanics of the game around Chikorita have made it even worse. Enemy teams are like less crap, which is bad news when you're struggling. And the big thing is, the stat XP system means that your attacks are even weaker, and they were barely getting there in the original games. Honestly, the problem really is the typing, because you get Razor Leaf at level 6. A 55 base power stab move with upside high crit rate at level 6 is insane, except that it's a grass type move. If it was any type other than grass, or bug, or poison, it would be like crazy, it would be busted. But instead of busted, it's just bad, because everything resists it. Why is this type so bad? Justice for Chikorita. Honestly, I'm a Chikorita ally. I think Game Freak should buff grass. Pure defensive grass type. Sad. And we're gonna talk about defensive gameplay now, because like half of the comments on the Gen 2 starter video are defending Chikorita on what I think are just all the wrong grounds. So they're saying like, Chikorita is such a tank, you can set up Reflect, you can set up Light Screen, you can use Synthesis, you can take hits. As if that's a good thing. You should never be getting hit, ever! You have a massive advantage over your opponents. Why aren't you just knocking them out? And the answer why you're not is because your type sucks, and you're forced into this, like, defensive gameplay. If you are taking damage, you are already losing. And you're just making excuses to try and argue for your viability. If you're not one-shotting, you're just wasting your time. Listen to me, okay? I, Chikorita myself, am going to tell you. There's a lot of things out there in this world, okay? You can go outside, use your Pokewalker. Talk to your friends. Experience all the things this wonderful world we live in has to offer. Why are you sitting there, dealing 12.5% damage to your opponent a turn with a 75% accuracy poison powder? You don't even get Leech Seed. There's better things to be doing with your life than trying to stall your way through an in-game Pokemon playthrough. B tier. It's okay. But as a starter, it's horrendous. That's the HGSS evaluation of Chikorita. We're gonna add some inspirational music to that speech there. If you want to see a game where Chikorita shines, maybe step into the Coliseum. Using the word shine very generously there, by the way. Cyndaquil. Adorable. So Cyndaquil has also been nerfed since Gen 2. The major nerf is that Thunder Punch is now a tutor move, and it's also physical, so you maybe wouldn't want to use it anyway. But its move pool has gotten a little bit better other than that. Flame Wheel is now much earlier. I think it's like level 20 or 21, when it used to be like 31. I don't know why. And notably, Flamethrower is much earlier. It used to be like level 60, and now it's a much more reasonable level 42-ish. So Ripperoni Thunder Punch, but Fire is a pretty good type. You start with it, and it's got those Charizard stats. You can't go wrong with that, right? So, this is gonna be an S tier pick. The vast majority of starters, sorry Chikorita, are gonna be S tier, so that's sort of the default placement for them. It's fast, it's strong, and it's a good offensive type with okay moves. I think Dig also got a little bit buffed. It's now 20 base power more, it's 80 base power. You can also get Rock Tomb, which it's not great, but it's okay. And you can also get Focus Blast at the Goldenrod department store. 120 base power, that's pretty good. 70 accuracy. People call it Focus Miss for a reason, right? I wouldn't use it. And if you don't want to wait for Flamethrower, you can start blasting. Just head into the department store, pick up a Fire Blast TM. We got Focus Blast, we got Fire Blast. I'd rather use the Fire one, but 85 accuracy is a little shaky. I'd rather just use Flamethrower once it's available. You generally don't need the power of Fire Blast, but it's an option. And because Cyndaquil is primarily a special attacker, you can get those Lake of Rage choice specs and do 50% more damage, wow, if you want to. CEO of Bethesda, Totodile Howard. The only starter that's actually been buffed, because thanks to the physical special split, it can actually use Water Stab off of its physical attack, although that's not until you get Waterfall, which is pretty much at the end of Johto, right? It's around when you get the Rising Badge. Even without physical stab until the very end, you still get that 95 base power Surf at the 4th gym, which is really strong, and your special attack is not horrible. You can do that. You've lost Ice Punch, but you get Ice Fang, which is a little bit worse. I'd rather have the extra power than, like, the flinch chance, but, I mean, it's still good, and it's, like, a nice early level up move. You also get Crunch, whereas you did not in Gen 2, and both Bite and Crunch are physical. So overall, Totodile Howard returns at Bethesda looking even better than they were in Gen 2. It's actually very good. I think on its own, it's actually better than Cyndaquil. However, I am going to put it below. Why? This is definitely an exception. I wouldn't normally do this, but you have a story encounter with a certain Chad who's just better than Totodile. So I think that by picking Cyndaquil, you are actually giving yourself an advantage over picking Totodile, because these are both fine in the early game. And even though I think Totodile is a little bit better overall, it's not better than this guy. They did nerf Rage, by the way, so you can't quite just rage your way through the beginning of the game, but it's still, like, fine. I would say it just works. Apparently, you can get Blizzard in Goldenrod, but I mean 70% accuracy. I'd rather go with Bethesda than modern-day Blizzard. Uh-oh. That's pretty worrying. And this applies to all water types. We'll mention it here because it's the first water type we're talking about, but water and normal together hit every single thing in the game for at least neutral damage. So if you have a water attack and you have a normal attack, say return, you're never gonna have an opponent that you can't actually hit for at least okay damage. Pidgey, the early game bird. So boring. Is it bad? It's just very meh. It's a normal flying type. It has very mediocre stats, very mediocre typing, and for some reason, the evolution to Pidgeot is, I would consider it fairly late. It's like mid-30s, as if it's some powerhouse that you're not allowed to use until that stage of the game. You can use it, it's not horrible, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. Falconer talks about his dad's cherished Pidgeotto. If your dad is giving you a Pidgeotto to use, I got bad news for you, Falconer. He might not like you very much. Pidgey doesn't learn Wing Attack until level 38? Upon further review, not getting Wing Attack until level 33, as a Pidgey, not even as a Pidgeotto. Yeah, goodbye. You can fly, but you're not soaring high on this list. Down to sea with you. Goodbye. Why use Pidgey when you could use cooler Pidgey? Spearow. Spearow is basically better than Pidgey in every single way that you actually care about. It has better offenses, it evolves faster, and it gets better moves. Is it amazing? No, but it's way better than Pidgey. They're available at the same time too, so there's really no advantage to picking Pidgey unless, like, you like it. Who are you, by the way? Nice try, Falconer. But if we want to unlock the true power of Spearow, we've got to go to Kenya. So there's a gatekeeper near Goldenrod City who gives you a gift Spearow named Kenya. Not really sure why it's named that. It's level 20, which is very reasonable for that point in the game, and because it's a gift Pokemon, it gets 1.5 XP. So it's gonna grow a lot faster than it would normally, and even though its stats are like kinda mediocre, when you get 1.5 times the power, it's actually not that bad at all, and it evolves pretty much immediately into Fearow. Random Spearows that you can catch early in the game, also okay. But I think you should go ahead and go to Kenya. I think you're actually supposed to give Kenya away. That's why you were given Kenya, but it's a sovereign nation, right? You can't just trade it away to someone else. How was it traded to you in the first place? Don't worry about it. Hoot hoot. What if Pidgey was even more defensive? No thanks. He's not going on my team, but he got a new job at Duolingo and just painted himself green, and now he's harassing you to do your Japanese drills. Stop playing the game and go do your drills so Hoot Hoot will leave you alone. Pidgey, but it evolves a little bit earlier, and it has even more defensive leaning stats. It gets Hypnosis. I guess that's something. I love using a 60 accuracy sleep move. It feels great. I mean, some people in the chat have been blackmailed by the Duolingo Owl to stand for Hoot Hoot and Noctowl. Like, look at these stats. Disgusting. Oh, but you get Confusion level 22. Wow, non-stab Confusion off of 76 special attack. Ooh, so spooky. I'm not spooked. You want to be better than Pidgey? Yeah, sure. Fine. What an accomplishment. Hypnosis Dream Eater exists. That's really bad. You're gonna use a turn, probably miss, so use 2 turns to then use an attack. How about you attack once and win? How about that? Keep dreaming, bro. Rattata! Is it a top percentage Pokemon? Yeah, I think so, but it's really unexciting. This is probably gonna end up being near, like, the top of B. So, Rattata, it's a normal type. That's bad, but you start with it and it's very offensively leaning, right? It's decently fast, it's decently strong. I'm using those terms very generously. But for the point in the game where you get it, and for how early it evolves, and for getting like an early Hyper Fang is pretty good, it's okay. It's pretty much the definition of usable early game filler. And then once you get actual Pokemon that are better than it, you can go and just stuff a bunch of HMs on it and like just keep it at the back of your party and make it do your chores. In that sense, it's a decent contributor. And the ability that it gets is alright, it gets guts. Although I think people really overestimate how good guts is for the type of playthrough I'm talking about. I get a bunch of comments on random videos telling me how I need to take guts seriously because you can get into an encounter with a wild Pokemon that status you, and then all you have to do is stall with items until they inflict the status, and then you get a 1.5 attack boost. Like, okay, but then you're taking damage from the status. You still take overworld damage from the status, right? The screen flickers, you hear the annoying noise, and you lose HP. And if you ever go to a Pokemon Center, you have to do all of it again for 1.5 attack boost. No, I don't think I will. You're wrong. But if you happen to get status, it's a nice boost. That's only poison though, burn is way... It's literally happening in the stream. It's only poison though, burn is better. How are you getting burned in your in-game playthrough? Tell me right now. You! Tell me, how are you doing it? You can't. Flame Body, Magmar, and Burn Tower. Alright, so... Whenever we want to activate Guts, we're gonna fly to Ekritique, and we're gonna hunt Magmars and attack them until we burn ourselves for a 1.5 attack boost on our Rattata. No. Like, if Guts was some game-changing ability that lets you overcome obstacles you couldn't otherwise, then yeah, sure, but like, just use these other Pokemon that don't need to do all of this. Like, what? I think Joey would be perfectly fine with this percentage of Rattata. It's near the top. We're gonna defeat all of the Guts-related comments right now. What about Facade and Guts? How do you get Facade in HGSS? Goldenrod Department Store Lottery. No. We're done here. Sentret. S-tier walking animation. We don't count those, though. Very boring. Very good at being employed as your HM user, our HM employee. It could be Sentret. Are you actually gonna fight things with this thing? I don't think so. I would much rather use Rattata, because Rattata has far better offenses. And, I mean, although I just spent a bunch of time dunking on Guts, but it's way better than Runaway or Keen Eye. Sentret, I think we're gonna go ahead and put it actually below Pidgey or Hoot, because at least they have dual stab, and Sentret is just kinda walking along. She's mad because Furret is taller than he is. Oh! Otachi ga suki desu? Alright, fine. Otachi wa dou shimasu ka? Agemasu ka? Otachi o agemashou. Alright. You're so lucky, Sentret. You are so lucky. My coworker is telling me that Sentret is cute and should be promoted. Fine. Otachi ouendan no okage-sama da ne. Congratulations, Sentret. Alright, you know what? We'll put Sentret next to Rattata. But Rattata is still better. Pichu! So the Pikachu line is actually post-game. You can only get Pikachu in Viridian Forest. So, Unknown Dungeon. If you could get it in Kanto. Say if you get it around the same time as these, I mean, I guess I'd put it in, like, B. Pikachu's bad, right? it's very bad. And you know what? I don't even think Pikachu is that cute. I mean, it's a little bit cute. But, I wouldn't say it's one of the cutest. Its stats are very bad. very bad. Without the Thunderstone evolution. And Thunderstone is really annoying to get, unfortunately. Final comments on the Pikachu line. Pikachu has good stats, if you double all of them. And if you evolve it with a Thunderstone, of course, it stops learning level up moves. So, that's just another strike to add to all the negatives. Caterpie, available as an illustration on Illustrator. So apparently there's a real animal that basically is Caterpie. I think a lot of people really like Caterpie, probably because of the Bye Bye Butterfree episode. Caterpie's pretty good. It does a really good job at fulfilling the role of early game Power Spike. Evolves up to Butterfree by level 10. You get Confusion off of, I don't know if I'd call it okay special attack, but like, not unacceptable special attack. You can powder some stuff, And of course, it got a huge buff in Generation 3, and this is Gen 4 game, because it is one of the Pokemon that actually has a very powerful ability. Those really creepy compound eyes, giving you a pseudo spore, almost spore, is really, really useful. Because being able to just disable Pokemon that you can't actually beat is really useful. Especially because in-game, we do consider catching utility like a little bit, and Butterfree's kind of the king of that. Really nice. Weedle. People think bug types are bad. In Weedle's case, they're right. It is way, way, way worse than Caterpie. So Weedle is sort of the more offensively minded one. Offensive as in, this thing offends me. It's real bad. So you'd think that that same power spike would occur, because it has the same final evolution level of 10, right? But the typing is just complete garbo. It's just awful. You're using really weak bug and poison moves forever. Oh, but you can beat the game with Beedrill. You can beat the game with anything, bro. That is not a defense. This thing also has no defense, by the way. If you're such a big Bee fan, rather than play this game, I've got a movie you can watch. I'd recommend that instead. Final thoughts on Weedle? Not the bees. Not the bees! All over my eyes! My compound eyes! Bad. Does it get worse than Weedle? It does. Spinarak and Ariados. More like adios. Be gone. Oh, I don't feel so good. Too bad. Should have had better stats. Horrible stats. Horrible typing. Horrible moves. Just awful. And you know what's the worst part of it all? It's not even the best at being the worst. Because that would be Lediba. Horrible stats, horrible typing, horrible move, but at least it's so bad that it gets the meme factor, right? Everyone knows that Lediba and Ledian are complete unmitigated ass. We're not talking about half-ass, we're not talking about quarter-ass, we're getting some really, really small fractions. Maybe we've got a 32nd of an ass. Horrible! But at least it gets Iron Fist? I think, that might not even be true. Iron Fist is actually a hidden ability, so I'm sorry if you wanted to use that 35 base attack with a 20% boost. What a joke. The Boulder has entered the ring! Unfortunately, I think his glory days are a bit behind him. This is the first Pokemon that has been massively nerfed by the EV system change. So Golem, it's really slow. And that was barely okay in Gen 2 because of the stat XP system. You got a little bit of a speed boost. You rolled a little bit faster because you were able to max out your speed. That's not going to be happening in this game. So that means you are going to be taking hits, which you can take, but ideally, you should be taking none. So previously an S tier Pokemon, now I think just a top of A Pokemon. You actually do get the Rock Polish option at level 8. So you can go fast, but at the price of a move slot and a turn every battle, I don't think that's worth it. It's still a major nerf. Yeah, you can still use Rock Polish even if you don't speak the language, yeah. So not quite the Boulder, but also not quite the Pebble. I think we can compromise the Rock. That might actually be an upgrade, I guess. Still really, really good. And of course it has amazing matchups against a lot of the early region. It's great overall. Just not quite the king of the ring as it used to be. Johto! It had the Crobat evolution in Generation 2. Crobat is really, really fast, so it goes first. And then what? It just doesn't have the moves. That's the main weakness. You get to go first, and then, like, what do you actually select, right? Wing attack, I guess? Fly, eventually, that's a 2-turn move, not very good. Sludge Bomb, it's a special attack, I mean, that's okay. Anything else? Bite? 60 base power with like mediocre attack? Leech life not yet buffed? Maybe here. Well, one thing is that if we're talking about availability, this thing is so available, you can't stop running into it. They just toss themselves at you. Poison Fang sucks. Confuse Ray sucks. And you can't even be a Brave Bat, because that's not one of its level up moves. Honestly, I'm gonna put this below these early game Pokemon because Zubat itself is atrocious. It is horrible. But Golbat, well, Golbat's also really bad, but probably by the time you get Golbat, you have high enough friendship that you can just immediately go to Crobat. People are talking about Poison Fang? Okay, like the only status I care about inflicting is Fainted, okay? Poison Fang is really bad at that. Clefable! Available in the new Johto Safari Zone. So the Johto Safari Zone has insane mechanics, but all of those crazy ones where you have to like wait for blocks to like evolve, those are all post-game, and we're not going to be ranking any of those Pokemon. This is a Pokemon you can just walk into the Safari Zone and get, as long as you're in the right biome, and the biomes aren't that hard to get. There's just like a couple like basic tasks you have to do, and then you get them. It's fine. So it's not a fairy type yet, that's unfortunate. Its stats are like very mediocre. The reason why Clefable is good now is basically because of everything other than its stats, because it's fairy, which is a busted typing, and has an insane move pool and really good abilities. Its abilities being really good doesn't really affect it in-game. Like Magic Guard and Oblivious are both insane for competitive, which we don't care about. In-game, they do basically nothing. So what you're left with is a normal type with a really good move pool. Oh look, it's a normal type with a really good move pool, but you get this one earlier, near the bottom of B. So this is gonna apply to all of the Safari Zone Pokemon, but they're all pretty under-leveled. Like they're not even level 20, at a time where most of your team, by most of your team I mean like your best like 2 Pokemon, are gonna be like almost level 30. So you have to put a little bit of extra work into them. They've gotta be good. Is this good? No, not really. If you wanna invest all the TMs in it, it's okay. Barely. I wouldn't recommend it. Notably, although this is a stone evolution, it is a moonstone evolution, which is one of the ones you can actually get. I believe there's one in the ruins of Alph. You need Surf to get it, but to even reach the Safari Zone where you can catch this, you need Surf. So if you can get Fableline, you can get the Moonstone. So your mom will apparently buy you a Moonstone after a specific amount of money that she gets sent. That's nice. Jigglypuff line. Pretty much everything we said about Clefable applies to Jigglypuff, except Jigglypuff is way, way, way worse, because they stuffed a bunch of its stats into HP. Who cares about HP? I don't. It's really bad. Actually, it's really bad. It's really bad. And you know what? It's not even that cute. At least the Clefable line is very cute. What is this thing? If you stuff all your useful TMs into it, yeah, you could maybe say it's a C Pokemon. Don't do that. I'm telling you now, don't do it, bro. I'm warning you. Pull up the stats? Sure. Tremble and Despair. This is Wigglytuff, the final evolution. Horrible. Togepi, our very first Pokemon with a new Gen 4 evolution. Now, if you look at the stats between Togetic and Togekiss, it's like night and day. Togetic is bollocks, and Togekiss is actually amazing. So I'm happy to say that finally, Togepi gets its day in the sun with... Oh, Shiny Stone is post-game? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Oh! Ugh! So here's the thing, this thing got nerfed, because the eggs now hatch at level 1. So you got nerfed by 4 levels, which isn't that big of a deal, it's like 2 battles. But yeah, you get the mystery egg from the dude in Violet City. It probably hatches by about the time you walk to Goldenrod, and then you get a level 1 Togepi. Honestly, don't even wait for it to hatch. Just crack it early and get a head start on your breakfast. That's my recommendation. The one saving grace, not quite Serene Grace, but saving grace, is that, like, the cap for Togepi is way higher. In the post-game, finally with the evolution, yeah, Togekiss is really good, but the game's over by that point. You need Rock Climb to actually get the stone, which is like right before Mount Silver. And by that point, like, it's basically as if this Pokemon didn't exist until Kanto. Because Togetic is just horrific. We'll put it above Igglybuff, because at least you don't have to go out of your way to get this, it's just given to you. And it is a normal type that starts with extra sensory, so it's okay against Morty if you leveled it up. That's about it. Also, what's up with the name? Toge Toge is how you say spiky in Japanese. Should we give it a different English name? Do English speakers know what Toge Toge means? No? Whatever, just leave it how it is. We don't need to translate it, it's fine. So for your abilities, you can either get Hustle or Serene Grace. Now you might think that Serene Grace is the better choice, but that's only if you want to rely on luck. A true Slugma knows that it's all about the hustle, right? It's up to you. Get on that Slugma grind set and you can make your dreams happen. It's a lie, by the way. Serene Grace is way better, and if you get unlucky and get Hustle, this thing's even worse. Sad. Sandshrew. Very solid physical stats, which you can use for Dig, which you don't learn by level up. What? Your first stab ground move is a level 27 Sand Tomb. So good for your Gara cosplay, right? Desert Coffin! But if your actual playthrough, I don't know, man. Good typing, decent physical stats, decent availability, but kinda slow. Top of C, maybe. Stab ground moves are pretty good. Why doesn't it learn Dig? I think if it actually like started with Dig, I'd probably put this at low B, but given that you have to actually use your Dig TM on this, I don't know. C for crap moveset, basically. And you can't even use Mud Slap because 1, it's special, and 2, it doesn't even exist. They removed the Mud Slap TM. That's another nerf to Chikorita. Say goodbye to your coverage moves. Ekans. Complete garbage. Horrible typing. Horrible moves. Horrible stats. What else is there to say? Good ability. Intimidate's okay. Not good enough, though. It's unacceptable. Why would you ever use this? I guess if you're doing a Jessie cosplay. At least it evolves into Seviper. Let's talk about the better snake, Dunsparce. D for Dunsparce. I do actually think it's better. That's not true. Yeah, it is. Tsuchinoko Real. Maybe one of the most beloved Pokemon ever? I think everybody loves Dunsparce. It's really, really bad though. Yeah, it's actually worse than Ekans. So it's super rare. You gotta go into Dark Cave, walk around for the 1% encounter. What's your reward? Dunsparce. There's a reason why it was my choice for small normal. I mean, it may have lost the battle. I mean, it may have also lost the war. But at least it won the hearts and minds of the people. Everybody loves Dunsparce, except for Game Freak apparently. When will they buff this thing? Yeah, for everybody saying like, what about para flinching with Dunsparce? What about one-shotting with an actual move? How about that? Pretty much any time a Pokemon has a combo, so that would be like Defense Curl Rollout, Sleep Move Dream Eater, people will point out and be like, what about the combo? It's bad. Combos are not good. Because they're taking twice as long to do something you could be doing in one turn with an actual move. Stop talking about combos. Unless you're talking about the snack, those are pretty good. So there's a raging war about Dunsparce not being that bad because you get to use these stats, wow, by the first gym. If you want to use it by the first gym, you have to get the 1% encounter. It's a much higher encounter with Rock Smash, but to get Rock Smash you have to beat the first gym. Sad. Mareep, fan favorite. People love this thing. I love this thing, which is why it pains me to put it at like the top of B. Mareep, unfortunately, has been massively, massively nerfed by Gen 4. It's too slow, which is a problem because there's no more stat XP, and the Boxing League has been cancelled. Very sad. This used to be able to Fire Punch. It used to be able to get Thunder Punch immediately as soon as it got its flipper arms at its evolution. The only thing this is a slow electric attacker. It's not that good, guys. They sheared off all of its stats. Very sad. Like, for the Mareep fans rioting, look at this level up move pool. No stronger electric move than Thunder Shock until you evolve to Ampharos, by the way. And then you get Discharge, which is pretty good. And then eventually you get Signal Beam. What TMs can we get? Focus Blast. That's an option. 70% of the time, it works every time. That's about it. Oh, and apparently you can delay your evolution 1 level with Flaffy to get Discharge at level 31. Then you miss Thunder Punch, but I mean, you'd rather have Discharge anyway. So if you're ever wondering why in the world Mega Ampharos is a dragon type, it's because the Japanese name of Ampharos is Dendyu, which means electric current. But it might also mean electric dragon, so that's why it suddenly regains its luscious locks and becomes a dragon. There is actually a reason, but it doesn't make any sense to us, and they never explained it. Wooper! Another fan favorite. People love Wooper and Quagsire, and you know what? It's got some feet, so I think it's actually able to waddle out of the C tier. And we're gonna put it about here. Go ahead and riot. So why are Wooper and Quagsire in B despite having amazing typing and good stabs? Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. I want all of you to look at it. 35 base speed. Not even 100 attack. Is that yeah, this is Quagsire. This is not Wooper. This is Quagsire. But I have a feeling that Quagsire is gonna be just fine. Look at that face. He doesn't care. Ghastly. Actually, amazing stats even as just a Ghastly, and Gengar has even better stats, and it can finally use its stab types with special moves. Sounds like an S Pokemon to me, right? I almost... So, there's one huge issue with Ghastly. What the hell is this? Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it. It's so sad. You're licking until level 15. And then you get Nightshade. Well, that's not much better. Level 29, you get Shadow Ball. That's pretty good. Yikes. Can you be saved by TMs? I mean, not early enough. If it wasn't for this, this would be an easy S. Easy S. It's basically Magikarp. You have to invest into it. But if you do, it's really good. And hey, you levitate now, which is really nice. But if you were thinking that you could maybe cheese Whitney because you're a ghost, unfortunately, that Miltank, it's scrappy, so you're still getting the stomp, getting the hoof. You can't escape that. Morty still gives you the Shadow Ball TM, yeah. So you could just go ahead and give it Shadow Ball after Morty, but by then you're gonna be really underleveled, right? I would say, Ghastly, it's a good investment opportunity. Because Gengar is also an excellent target for all of your TMs. You can give it like Thunderbolt, Psychic, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, really good. But just a huge dud stage until at least level 15 where you can't do anything. I mean, you can damage yourself. Wow, you don't even need a TM to do that. The utility. And yeah, you've also been banned from the boxing circuit. No elemental punches either, unfortunately, but that's not that big of a deal. Unown. We don't need words to describe this, right? We just need one letter. You guys know what letter. Go ahead. Type it now. Gaze upon the unknown analysis. Here it is for you right here. One letter, that's all you need. This is how good Unown is. F! 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 Crocker's favorite Pokemon. F! I mean, it's the worst Pokemon in the game, right? That's just the worst Pokemon that gets. There's nothing else to say. Awful. Only hidden power. Even in the best case scenario where your hidden power happens to be max power and it happens to be super effective against the enemy, look at these stats. What are you gonna do? Nothing. That's it. F. Beyond redemption. Unsalvageable. But hey, it still has better stats than Kirlia. Even if this thing had the Legends Arceus super hidden power that's always super effective, that means you double damage, right? 1 times 2? I'm not impressed. Alright, it's time. He's even on camera. Onix! I mean, it's really bad. But, despite our turbulent history with Onix, we are impartial, okay? It's not the worst Pokemon in the game. It's not even close. I mean, it's D, right? It's awful, but honestly, I think it's better than these Pokemon, so there is the scam Rocky trade in Ekritique. You should definitely just use a Geodude. I mean, you caught a Geodude, right? But you can use Onix. It's not the worst thing ever. It does beat Falkner. And like 45 attack, I mean, it's a joke, right? But for the first gym in the game, it's a less funny joke. And you can get Steelix, who is still really bad, but it's not like meme bad. It's just not good. So that is my impartial review of Onix and Steelix. You can actually steal a Metal Coat from Wild Magnemite, and if you caught a Caterpie, and you have those creepy compound eyes, it actually increases the held item rate of wild Pokemon. So you can do that, catch the Magnemites, or just steal it from them with Thief. So it is possible to get a Steelix earlier than post-game. It's not good, though. You can also get Metal Coat from the Pokeathlon. Well, look at this. In Cliff Cave, one of the new areas leading to the Safari Zone, there's a 2% encounter for a wild Steelix. And it's the highest level thing in the cave at 23. So if you have a level 23 Pokemon, you can use Repel, and then the only Pokemon you'll encounter will be Steelix. What a find. Like, I think people are being a little delusional, right? Steelix is better, but it's still a defensive Pokemon that will always go second and has 70 base attack. No. Guys, I'm not promoting Steelix because you can get the Jasmine Steelix that beats Red's Pikachu. I'm not scared of Red's Pikachu. This is ridiculous Onix lobbying. We're done, okay? It's a top of D Pokemon. Bellsprout eventually evolves into Victory Bell. More like Defeat Bell, right? I mean, it's a grass type. Needs a Leaf Stone, which is really annoying, but You can get one. Just gotta use Chaos Control and go to the Pokeathlon on the right day. I mean, it's a grass poison type. I don't have that much to say. At least you get it early. Apparently they like this thing enough that they built a whole tower for it. I don't know why. But yeah, for all the reasons we went into great depth about in another video, grass types are just balls in Johto. And this is a grass type, so there you go. But it is offensively minded, so it's not bad, a single bad. Put it in C. Hoppip! Very cute. Unholy. This thing is horrendous. It's like grass type condensed into the most annoying orb of all time. This thing is useless. That is, I think, the best description of it. It's useless. So to begin with, it can only hop, splash, that's it. It does not even attack. And then once it actually learns moves, it still doesn't attack. The only thing this thing ever does is flit around, spreading powders, wasting time. So you can use it to stall your opponent. Your opponent is a computer, okay? Is your opponent gonna get annoyed? No. You are, the player. Why would you use a Pokemon that annoys yourself? Like, the only thing you can do with this thing is Leech Seed Powder. It takes forever! It takes forever for worse results than just attacking. I don't think so. If you enjoy it, if that's how you want to play the game, go ahead. For my criteria, to the depths. Awful. Very cute though. Bump it past Ledyba? No, I think Ledyba is better. Like, you know things are dire when an advantage that Ledyba has over you is that it tackles earlier. Jumpluff's utility is better than Ledion's inability to do anything? What utility is this? You gotta level up for these powders, and then what? You do nothing. You have to wait until level 43 before you can even defeat yourself and bring in a better Pokemon. And this is on Hoppip, by the way, so it'll be even later for Jumpluff. Paras! It gets Spore. It's really slow. Its stats are really bad. Its typing is really bad. Sounds bad to me. Yeah, I think it's better than Weedle. You're always gonna get hit because you're super slow, and your typing sucks, so you're gonna die. But if you don't die, maybe you can use Spore. That's about it. Horrible. Good suggestion. Parasect, give it Spore, give it False Swipe, then catch a better Pokemon. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm gonna get an angry missive from Mr. Macron for slandering his capital city. You know what? It deserves it. You should be ashamed. Who's ready to take a swim? It's time to dive into the C tier. I really can't think of a Pokemon more C tier-ish than Poliwrath and Politoed. Well, there you go. They're water types, so I mean that counts for something. It counts for more than C. You get to be SEAC. And Poliwrath has 2 types, so I guess it's a little bit better. I'm gonna head off these defenses right now. Oh, but they've got balanced stats. Balanced means bad, okay? I don't want balanced, I want specialized. Specialized in attacking. Are they specialized in attacking? No, so they're bad. But they're not that bad, because they're water types. Alright, so this might be an imported cheese first. We're gonna put Politoed above Poliwrath, even though it's a monotype versus a dual type, because Poliwrath has only 70 special attack. Politoed has 90, I mean, they're both pretty bad. Why does that actually matter? What about the fighting stab moves from Poliwrath? He doesn't get any. He doesn't get any, except for Rock Smash! 40 base power, until the Battle Frontier, at which point you can get Brick Break, and then you can use that meaty 85 base attack. C to the max. Low Tide, I don't like these guys. Also, Poliwrath is a stone evolution, so that's really annoying. And Politoed is a trade evolution with King's Rock, so that's really annoying. Just annoying all around. 58% say Hoppip is worse than Ledyba, and 41% say it's better, so... Ripperoni Hoppip. You might be able to fly, but you're still at the bottom. Finally, time for some Chad gameplay. Red Gyarados. The pieces have all come together. It's Gen 4. We've got physical water moves. Eventually, we have to get to the actual Waterfall HM. We've got Ice Fang. We've got Intimidate. And what's the worst part about Gyarados? The fact that it starts as a Magikarp, right? And you have to go through the babysitting effort of raising it up? What if the game just gave you a free Gyarados? What if it was level 30? Perfectly appropriate for that point in the game. It's mandatory. You have to meet this thing. You better catch it. Why? Because it is in contention for the best Pokemon in the game. This thing is outrageous. It's so good. Is it better than Cyndaquil? Maybe not, but it's really, really good. Why aren't you catching this thing? You should. Look at this. Can you say no to this face? Just look beneath the filter. It's Chad. I even put Chad's teeth in there. You have to really look, but they're there. The worst part about it is that the shiny animation takes a bit of time. It's a little annoying. But let's say it's not Chad enough. You don't want level 30. You want level 50. They say that levels in Johto are too low. Well, what about this? Go to Route 43. Slap on a Repel with a Pokemon that's higher than level, like, 26. And then the only thing you can encounter is a level 50 Magikarp. And then you can rare candy it. And then you've got a level 51 Gyarados. The Chad is out of control. Give it some TMs. Fine, with level 51 Gyarados, we'll put it above Cyndaquil. So for moves for the level 51 Gyarados, because you miss all the level up moves for Gyarados, you can just give it Surf and you can have choice specs. And then you give it Strength. Both those moves aren't that good, but you can't quite use Return yet, because you don't have the Friendship. And then you can just delete the HMs later once you get Return and Waterfall, which is coming up kinda soon. You just gotta go a little bit to Blackthorn. And then you can move Reminder Ice Fang, and then you can give it an Earthquake. Seems like a pretty good Pokemon. And don't worry about obedience, because if you catch the Pokemon yourself, it'll always obey you. And you have like 7 badges by this point anyway, or potentially, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Slowbro and Slowking. People are gonna be really upset at this. They're stuck in the sea. Pretty good typing. Well, not pretty good. Really good typing. Really good move pools. Why are they in the sea? It's in their name, right? Slow. They're so slow. You are never, ever moving first. We maybe should have talked about this earlier, but we're going to talk about why being slow is so bad. So let's say that you're against an opponent that has 3 Pokemon, and you have a fast Pokemon that one-shots them. So the battle takes 3 turns, right? You one-shot them, you one-shot them, you one-shot them. You win! Now let's say that you're slow, like you're using these guys. And let's say that you're completely invincible and you one-shot them, which is not the case, right? But let's say that it is. That same battle now takes 6 turns because your opponent then gets to take 3 actions. And of course, you're not actually invincible, right? You take damage that has to be healed. Maybe you get sand attacked and now you missed. Maybe you get statused, you have to heal that later. So many things can go wrong just because your opponents get turns. Don't give them turns. Just kill them. Being slow, very huge disadvantage. You don't need to spend all of these extra turns dealing with these rocket grunts. Just use these Pokemon. Why is Slowking better than Slowbro? I guess because Slowbro is actually a fairly high level evolution. It's like late 30s, I think. And Slowking is like a trade evolution with the King's Rocks. You can potentially get it earlier. Stats-wise, I think they're the same, except they have defense and special defense flipped. Slowking has higher special defense, and Slowbro has higher defense. Who cares? It's inconsequential, does not matter. But you get them nice and early, you get them in Slowpoke well. So honestly, pick up a Slowpoke, just lop off the tail. That's all you need. I hear they're worth a lot. Maybe Slowking would be better if it could actually equip those legendary pants it's been seeking.
I could use pants.
Speaking of seeking, it's Goldeen and Sea King. Imagine being named a Sea King and not even being top of the C tier. I mean, what is there to say? It's Goldeen and Sea King. Pure C tier. That was easy. Bellossom and Vileplume. Well, they're both stone evolutions, but Bellossom is slightly less annoying to get because you can actually get the Sunstone through the bug catching contest. Whereas Vileplume, you need the Leaf Stone. So I think Vileplume is actually better than Bellossom. Because, I mean, it's a dual type, and I guess you can use poison moves. And it's a bit more offensively minded in its stats, but, I mean, they're both grass to the max, right? I think they're both worse than Bellsprout. We'll put Bellossom a little bit higher just because it's easier to get. But I think if you can get the Leaf Stone, Vileplume is actually better. But honestly, you shouldn't use any of these. The grass type hate continues. You know I'm not biased, right? I'm saying these things about my own brothers. It's been 2 generations since I stepped into the ring. I don't know, these fists aren't what they used to be. I used to be able to play the mind games, but now, I don't know. I think it might be time to hang up these old spoons for good. I don't think I've got it anymore. What's this? people. I hear their voices, the cheering crowds. You're right. I can do it. S tier. We can still do it, man. We never needed the fists. It was all about the spoons all along. Here's the scoop with Alakazam. Nerfed by Gen 4, it's true. That's undeniable. Alakazam used to be the best Pokemon in the game. It was the best. Pretty much the only thing you can do now is stab psychic moves and Shadow Ball. And you know what? That's enough. That's enough. There's still a zillion poison types that you just delete. You get stopped by dark types? What dark types? There's like a Rocket Executive with a Houndoom and Karen's Houndoom. That's about it. Also, you learn Focus Blast. So 70% chance to not lose anyway. You just gotta focus. You can even Charge Beam. So you have undeniably been nerfed, right? You're way worse. No longer the best, but you know what? These spoons have still got it. Tablespoons. Teaspoons. What's in between those? Spoon 'em. Oh yeah, also specs are in this game, so you can go spoons and specs. I'm doing that right now. Trust your wrists, not your fists. Drowsy. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's very underwhelming. So it is a psychic type in a game with a bunch of random poison types, because remember, we still have a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon, which are like mostly poison type, and the villainous team is Team Rocket, which has a bunch of Zubats and like Grimers and Coughings and stuff. So if you've got stab psychic moves, that's something, but man, this guy has no spoons. Why would you ever use this when you could go with Chadabra? Ditto. So Johto is known for having really weak enemies. Ditto transforms into your enemies, and it takes a turn. So in the end, you become a bad version of your enemies. But maybe you can transform into a good Pokemon. It has a very cute Japanese name. Metamon! Honestly, Imposter can't come fast enough. Like, we gotta be sus. Right now, they can see right through our disguise. We're just a Ditto. Well, Ditto retains its HP, so it can transform into Shuckle, and then becomes better Shuckle, because it has more HP. That might make it better than Hoppip. I think it is actually better than Hoppip, but not for that reason. Pineco. Slow defensive Pokemon. We'll put it about here. It's better than these guys. Fortress has a surprisingly good attack stat. It's like 90. But what are you actually attacking with? Earthquake? You're gonna use Earthquake on this? No. It does learn Explosion, so it's very good at getting itself out of the way. Incredible. You don't need defense. You don't need this thing. Also, shoutouts to being absolutely horrific in Pokemon Conquest. That, like, doesn't factor into this, but imagine giving a Pokemon that uses Gyro Ball to a Warlord that is, like, the fastest in the game. What? And I guess since this is the sequel, you could say this is Team Fortress 2. Welcome to Team Fortress 2. After 9 years in development, hopefully it'll have been worth the wait. The Nido Twins. Is Johto part of the Nido Kingdom? Nah, I don't think so, but they're both pretty good. Yeah, I think they're both better than Chikorita. So, despite these being stone evolutions, they do actually evolve with the Moonstone, which you can go ahead, I think we mentioned earlier, you can get it from the Ruins of Alph, so you need Surf. But Surf is pretty early in this game, it's the 4th gym. You catch these around Goldenrod, so you can go to Goldenrod, get these guys, and then the moment you Moonstone them up into their final forms, they get really good stats for the point in the game where you get them. They have Stab Earthquake, and they have absolutely absurd move pools, right? They can learn pretty much anything that you'd want. So if you decide to invest in them, yeah, I think they are very solid upper B Pokemon. But yeah, this is not the Nido Kingdom. The monarchy has been deposed, unfortunately, but you know what? They weren't completely ousted, right? They're still, like, among the nobility. Not bad at all. And obviously, Nido King is better than Queen because it has better offenses, which is all I care about. And we'll mention this here, so if you're wondering why these things are named Nido King and, like, Nido Queen, so Nido just means, like, twice or, like, double or pair. That's why. And they just didn't translate it. Great, thanks. I assume people thought it had to do with, like, needle, but no, it's just Japanese words. Is that why it gets Double Kick? So, Double Kick actually does use Nido as well. It's, Nido Geri. So yeah, that might actually be why it gets Double Kick. Yeah, nice. Yanma. One of the worst Pokemon from Generation 2. gets an evolution to Yanmega, who has amazing stats. You don't even need a stone. It's just a level up move. You just have to level up knowing Ancient Power. What level do you learn Ancient Power? Level 33? What are Yanma's stats? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Ah! You're stuck with Yanma stats until level 33? You can't be serious. Oh, it's awful. Once you get Yanmega, it's pretty good. Are you gonna get Yanmega? I don't know, man. I don't know. Yanma's really bad. Yanma's really bad, but Yanmega's pretty good. Speed boost is cool, but you don't really need it, right? You're already fast enough. You'd rather use Tinted Lens. And Tinted Lens, it's basically as if Bug wasn't horrible. It just lets you use your stab attacks as if you had an actually good type. Yanma itself is also really rare unless you're actually like in a swarm. So it's quite a lot of work. And your reward is Yanmega, which is okay. If Ancient Power was like level 22, like low 20s, I'd probably put this maybe even at the bottom of B, but yeah, it's not. You're stuck with complete garbage for quite a while. And we'll dispel this right now. So people talk about, when are we gonna get Mega Yanmega? That's a dragon type. Never. For the same reason that Mega Ampharos is a dragon type. So Dragonfly, in Japanese, has nothing to do with dragons. It's a completely different word. So the only case where we would be getting a dragon type Mega Yanmega is the same Bizarro reverse universe, where Domestic Cheese is telling a Japanese audience about English names. Mega Yanmega wa nande dragon type ni natte ru no ka? 説明させていただきます。トンボは英語で言えばドラゴンフライ。そのドラゴンはドラゴンタイプの由来になってます。ご視聴してくれてありがとうございます。イウォークに栄光あれ。Sunkern. Previously, the literal worst stats in the franchise, but it's since been overtaken by base form Wishiwashi, who actually has worse stats, slightly. Completely unusable unless you invest the time to go ahead and get that Sunstone by winning the bug catching contest, at which point you can Sunstone it right up into a Sunflora, who also sucks, but I mean, you can. Sunflora is better than Hoppip for sure. I guess as a joke, Sunkern has the literal best Pokeathlon stats. I don't know why they did that, but if you want to do the Pokeathlon, which you might want to do for these evolution stones, use a Sunkern. So I mean, that's actually a use. Wow. You're right, it's better than Ditto. Eggs. It's Execute. It's a stone evolution, that's really annoying. And after doing the egg move only run, I never want to see this thing again. Interestingly, Execute's best stat is defense? Okay. And then once it evolves into Executor, it actually gets a massive buff to its special attack. It's like 125 special attack. Insane. But how do you actually get the psychic moves, right? You pretty much need the TMs. Very unfortunate. But, I mean, 125 special attack is pretty good. It's really slow, though. I think if you can actually Leaf Stone it, it's actually the best of these, like, grass-type Pokemon, but that's because it's a psychic type. That's why. Alright, upon further review, you don't get Confusion until level 27, and Psychic until level 47. As an Execute, you can't actually evolve up to Executor, because Stone Evolutions cancel all of your level-up moves. And you don't get Psychic until Mr. Psychic, so what do you actually do with this thing? Nothing, right? It's really bad. Yikes, these eggs have been cracked. Bad eggs. Venonat! People really like this thing. And Venomoth is a really cool psychic bug that is not a psychic type for some reason. It's cool. People like Venonat, and Venonat actually has a better ability than Venomoth because it actually has Compound Eyes, which lets it powder much better. Loses that when it evolves to Venomoth. Very, very underwhelming. Caterpie is way better. Even though Venomoth has better stats, Caterpie accesses those stats earlier in the game and at an earlier level. Venonat has to wait quite a while. Like, the Venomoth evolution is, I think, much later than it should be. If this thing evolved earlier, like level 20, I'd probably actually put it at like the top of C. A level 31 evolution is just not cutting it. No thanks. Wobbuffett! People love this thing. I love this thing. It's hilarious. It's literally a punching bag. Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. So you can kill things with Wobbuffett. You can, right? Wobbuffett deals damage, but to deal damage, you have to take damage. You don't want to take damage. And one thing about Wobbuffett that gets definitely lost in translation, so in English, it's just a punching bag. So it's actually based on a style of Japanese slapstick duo comedy called manzai. So it's basically you have two people, and one of them is like the straight man, and the other one basically just like beats the other guy up. And like, that's where the comedy comes from. So that's why Wobbuffett always gets beat up. It's part of a Japanese comedy routine that just like doesn't exist in the West. And I guess they just gave up on trying to translate that, and they're like, all right, whatever, it's a punching bag, it's fine. So in Japanese, like the names of Wynaut and Wobbuffett are a call and response. It's like, is that so? That's how it is. And in English, only half of that is translated, the Wynaut. Sudowoodo. It's me, I'm a grass type, right? Have I fooled you? I've got a leaf, right? So Sudowoodo has surprisingly solid stats, very solid physical stats. It's really slow though. It's really slow. You should definitely just be using a Geodude, but I mean, Sudowoodo is not that bad. You're gonna be moving second, but I mean, you hit pretty hard on the way back. It's okay, and it's available, like, okay, kinda early. In this gen, it actually gets Woodhammer, and no recoil, because you've got that Rock Head. Also, Sudowoodo's Japanese name is hilarious. It might actually be my favorite. So, its Japanese name is Usotsuki, which means fake tree, and it also means liar. Hilarious. Amazing. Should have been faster, kid. But I guess trees don't move very fast. Grass Rock is not that bad typing, though. It's not a grass type. You've been fooled. Scyther! Oh, it never works, but Scyther. We're gonna be reaping some souls. This thing is great. You can get it, unfortunately, only during the bug catching contest, but the base stat total for the point in the game where you get it is insane. They just hand you a Scyther, 500 BST, fast, strong, and you get Technician in this gen. I like it. I like it. Slice them up. Get them. Hack them. I actually think you should not evolve into Scizor, because even though Scizor has better attack, it is way slower. Just leave it as Scyther. So Scizor obviously is way better in competitive because it has a better typing overall. Scyther is definitely what you want to stay with for in-game, and you don't even get a stat buff for going to Scizor. It just rearranges your stats, which is very weird. It's basically Game Freak saying, hey, yeah, we know that Steel is really overpowered, so the main buff from your evolution is that your type gets better. Pinsir! No justice for Pinsir. It's way worse than Scyther, but it's still really good. Pinsir you encounter in the exact same way as Scyther, it's in the bug catching contest. But, I mean, this thing doesn't get first prize. It has really good stats. Insane attack. Good enough speed. But the moves suck. It's like you get normal moves. That's about it. You have enough attack that you could just slap return on it and still do a lot of damage, but don't use this thing. I think you have better choices that you actually get earlier. Heracross! I think I said in the Gen 2 list that Heracross would be the best Pokemon in the game if it got fighting moves. It gets fighting moves. I don't quite think it's the best, but it's almost there. This thing is insane. And I'm not just saying that because I've been headbutting trees and I'm feeling a little woozy. The stats that you get on this thing for the point in the game that you get them, it's unfair. There's no other word. It's unfair. 125 base attack in Ilex Forest? Say goodbye to your opponents. Level 19 stab Brick Break off of 125 base attack before the third gym? Whitney in shambles. That's the reason why she's crying. Annihilated. It's time to take bug type seriously. Look at these moves. Level 37 close combat? Level 37 to delete any enemy. That's not a ghost type. Wow. Level 55 Mega Horn. Alright, that's kinda late, but you don't need it. You can throw pretty much any physical move on this thing and just win the game. The only reason this is not better than Gyarados is because of the level 50 Gyarados. Otherwise, this would be the best Pokemon in the game. Absurd. Coughing and wheezing! Bad. Bad. It's better than Ekans. Hey, it gets Levitate in this generation. That's cool. What does it actually do to opponents? Nothing. D for Dogas. It's Japanese name. Not S for Smogon, sadly, which is the German name. It's got a surprisingly good special move pool, but like, you're not using your special TMs on this thing. No. The Weezing evolution is also kind of late. Grimer and Muk. Really late evolution. Poison type. Poison sucks. I think it's better than Ekans. Actually, no. Ekans says Intimidate. Yikes. Team Rocket, what are you doing? What is this? Horrible. Magnemite and Magneton. But you actually can't get in the zone. Magnezone, because it's not obtainable in HeartGold and SoulSilver. That's kind of weird. Yeah, you can only actually go up to Magneton, but that might actually be better, because Magneton is actually faster than Magnezone. And you don't really need more special attack, you're strong enough. You need more speed, which Magneton has. Anyway, I think Magnemite is, bottom of B Pokemon. Really, really good special attack. Amazing typing, I think literally the most resistances of any type combo ever. You do big damage, but you do big damage second. Magnemite is basically nothing but a slow, strong special attack, and you have that earlier through Marril. But speaking of getting in the zone, there's an ad I always pass by on my way to work for something called Creepy Nuts in the Zone. I don't really know what that means, but that's not a zone I want to get into. Voltorb. It's really fast, so it goes first. And then what? I mean, it's a really, really fast electric type Pokemon that attacks with mediocre electric attacks and nothing else. Top of C, I guess? You can Thunder Wave things! You're sort of forced to encounter those electrodes that you can then catch if they don't explode. So I guess there's no opportunity cost to getting them, like, you encounter them for sure. But yeah, this thing has no moves. You can also trade a Voltorb for a Krabby in Olivine City, and that way, your experience is also faster. This thing is all about speed, except for when it comes to actually killing opponents quickly. Aipom! It gets a usable Gen 4 evolution. And Ambipom actually has very reasonable stats. It's very fast and decently strong. It's a normal type though, and that's all it'll ever be. I'm guessing because this does take place in Johto, which is in Japan, which does have universal healthcare, it really needs to get those hands checked out because they are inflamed. We'll put it like here. Smack some trees, huh! Catching Aipom. Aipom sucks, by the way, but once it gets double hit and becomes Ambipom, its stats skyrocket to being usable. But it's still just a normal type. You don't need this thing. You could also use Aipom, not even for battle, it could be a pickup Pokemon. But pickup now scales with your level, so if you want to get better items, you would have to actually level this thing up. And if you have pickup, that means you don't have Technician. And you definitely want Technician if you want to actually fight with this thing. Snubble, continuing to be snubbed until Generation 6 when it gets the upgrade to becoming a Fairy type. So it's got insane attack, it's really high, but it's super slow and it's a normal type. I think it's actually better than Aipom because you don't have to headbutt trees for it, you can just catch it. And you can just use really strong normal attacks. But you're going second. Just hang in there for that fairy typing, buddy. You're almost there. We were considering moving it up, because you get a lot of attack at a really low level, but it's a 2% encounter, so no, it's not going anywhere. Vulpix! Shockingly poor stats. Like, they're not horrible, but they're much worse than you'd think. And you need to get a Firestone to evolve this, which is really annoying. If you didn't pick Cyndaquil, maybe. Bottom of B? So keep in mind that if you Firestone it, you will no longer learn level up moves, but you get Flamethrower naturally at level 24, that's pretty good. And you can also get the Fire Blast TM. Cool design. People really like Ninetales. I just wish Ninetales had better stats. It should at least be faster. We'll move it above Drowsy for the level 24 natural Flamethrower, that's pretty good. And then just Firestone it up. But that's all you're ever going to be doing, a Flamethrower, off of mediocre special attack and speed. It's okay. Growlithe and Arcanine. Growlithe and Arcanine overall, it has better stats than Vulpix, because it's got insane stats. I don't know why they're so high. I guess because it's the legendary Pokemon. You can give it a Fire Blast TM. You're probably going to want to, because if you don't, you're kind of stuck as Growlithe until it actually learns its best moves. It does get Flare Blitz as Growlithe, but that's like level 40. You get Crunch, you can teach it Dig with a TM. It just really struggles with the moves. But the stats are good. I'm gonna say these are comparable. And you can't Thunder Punch, I mean, why would you be able to? But you can move Reminder Thunderfang on Arcanine once you get to Blackthorn City. That's pretty good. That's an option that Vulpix doesn't have. Stantler. Mediocre normal type. There's nothing exceptional about this thing at all. It's got Hypnosis. Maybe it's better than Aipom? It's so boring. It's hideous, that's true. Doesn't affect the ranking, but yeah, it's very ugly. Alright, I think to spare Stantler's feelings, because people are just making fun of it, We're gonna move on. It's a mediocre normal type that you can get around the mid-game. You should use Snubbull. It has better attack. Marril and Azumarill. We're getting there. We've finally got the physical special split, so we can use physical water moves, and it is possible to get huge power, which gives us a good attack stat. And we're still really slow without our fairy typing, so I think we're taking a swim. It's worth noting that this thing is also incredibly rare within Mount Mortar. It's not like you can just get this thing for free. You have to actually work to get it. And it is pretty much always going second. It is super duper slow. We're almost there, okay? We 2 more generations and we get that OP dual typing. You also can't get physical water moves until basically the end of the game, so you're not getting that physical stat for quite a while. People talking about Belly Drum? You're gonna pay half your HP every single battle? No, that's horrible. Belly Drum, more like a belly flop into the C tier. I thought Marril was Gen 3? How could you forget that Tracy graced us with Marril in the anime? Tracy, everyone's favorite character. Diglett Dig, Trio. This used to be Kanto exclusive, but you can now catch it on the route to the new Safari Zone. So you can actually get this by the time you get to Cianwood City. It's really fast, so it goes first. And then what? Ground moves? It's okay. I'd put it higher than Sandshrew, except you get Sandshrew significantly earlier. If this thing ever gets touched, it explodes, but, I mean, you should never be getting hit anyway, right? The issue is that you can't afford to get hit, and you're also not strong enough that you knock out things before you get hit. Just gotta make it to level 45 for Earthquake. Can you do it, Diglett? You gotta really dig in, and maybe you'll get there. Mankey. I don't know if I'd call it a Primeape. I wouldn't, maybe like a USDA B rating, not quite Prime. It's okay, I think it's actually the fastest fighting type in the game, which is kind of sad. Fighting types are kind of slow. You get a fast Karate Chop, and eventually you get Cross Chop! Eventually, as in like level 41. Fighting is really good on offense, and offense is what you care about. It might actually be better than Drowsy. Not too exciting though. I think I would choose to stay as a human rather than return to Mankey. Meowth, that's right? I mean, where's Apom? It's really fast. Pathetic attack stat. It gets Technician, that's nice. Is it nice enough? No, so we'll put the Technicians together. So if you're thinking about trying to pay to win with Meowth, you're gonna be paying with your time. Because Payday is incredibly slow, and also you don't need it. Like, you would be better off just completing the game and farming the Elite Four than trying to actually get money with Payday. I actually do think Apom is better. That's pretty sad. Psyduck. Masuda's favorite Pokemon. And you know there's no favoritism, because this thing's pretty bad. It's better than Goldeen, though. C tier to the max. Why isn't this a Psychic type, by the way? We're gonna say that every time. Why isn't this a Psychic type? Masuda, I want answers. But I think he's actually stepping down as director, so we might never actually get those answers. He's taken the secret to his grave. He's not dead, he's just not the director anymore. Fake Psychic type? What a quack. Machop! Machop! The pieces are in place, right? Once you get up to Machamp, huge attack, and no guard dynamic punch. That's 100 base power stab move, always hits, and it has the confusion upside if they somehow survived. Chuck no longer gives you the dynamic punch TM. So you're just stuck with 130 base attack. I think you'll survive. Unfortunately, it's really slow. I wish this was faster. And I wish dynamic punch was still a TM. You can also trade a Drowsy for this, which means that you will level up faster, which is a very nice bonus. Yeah, with this attack stat, you can just use random physical moves and probably kill your opponent. I just wish you were faster. This guy, he only cares about the arms. Maybe if he had 4 legs, he'd actually move first. The Hitmon Trio. The Chan, the Top, and the Lee. So you get a Tyruff? Or Tyrogue, however you say. I think it's Tyruff, right? Tyruff? In Mount Mortar. But you need Waterfall. And it's really underleveled. And you have to raise it. No. If you didn't need Waterfall, if they just handed one of these to you, and it was like level 20, around the 4th gym, I'd probably say that Hitmonlee is maybe better than Machop. Because it's a little bit faster, and it's also got a really great attack. And Hitmonchan actually gets the elemental punches by level up now. And they are physical, so you can actually use them, that's pretty good. Hitmontop just kind of sucks. They're down here purely because of how late you get them. If you got them earlier, they'd be way higher. But yeah, way too late, way too underleveled. No thanks. Girafarig! Very zany design. People really like this thing. I like it too. It's basically just better Drowsy. You get a normal stab for free, I guess. And you're faster. But you're available a little bit later. I still think you're better overall. Stab Psychic is pretty good in a game with a zillion poison types. You have okay speed. And if you want to go out of your way to really make Morty feel bad, you can go ahead and trek through Mount Mortar and go catch Girafarig. And then you have something that has Stab Psychic, but is also immune to Ghost. That's neat. Is it time to grab this playthrough by the horns? Tauros! We're on a rampage to the bottom of A. Miltank, slightly worse than Tauros. Tauros is about as good as a normal type gets, really fast and really strong. Miltank, slightly slower and slightly weaker than Tauros, and slightly bulkier, so it's just worse. Decently fast, decently strong normal moves that you don't need to evolve, you just catch them and they're already good. Miltank also has Scrappy in this game, so you can still hit ghost types, that's nice. Doesn't come up very often, but it's nice. Miltank is the same speed, prepare to delete your YouTube channel, friend. So Tauros has 110 speed, and Miltank I think has 100. Get wrecked. It's over. I've never been wrong, not once, and if I have, I can just edit it out. Magmar. Gets an evolution to Magmortar. It's on like Cinnabar Island though, so for the vast majority of the game, you're stuck with Magmar. Thankfully, Magmar is not bad at all. It's okay. If you didn't pick Cyndaquil and you really want a fire type, you can go with Magmar. And once you do evolve into Magmortar, it gets even uglier, but significantly stronger. Notably, it's got a really good special move pool. You can give it Thunderbolt and Psychic, which are both really nice. And yes, its Japanese name is Boober. Very funny. Haha. Jinx. The template for a really good Pokemon, right? It's got decent stats, right? Good special attack, good enough speed at 95. The typing Ice Psychic is really good for offense. Does it get Ice or Psychic moves? Nope. No, we almost did it. Unfortunately, we were cursed. Right? That's what it's named after, right? Cursed? Jinx the Reactor might be better than this thing. If you give it the Blizzard TM, which you can buy, and 70% of the time it does a lot of damage. It doesn't actually learn any Psychic moves by level up. And Ice Beam, you either have to play a whole lot of Voltorb flip, or you have to use the TM that you get from the Seafoam Islands, which is going to be really late. If you don't do that, you're stuck Ice Punching. And also because you catch it in the Ice Path, it's going to be kind of underleveled for where you are. Things just don't line up right for Jinx. But if you invest into it, it can be good. So we'll give it the honor of top of C. Electabuzz. Or it has the anime cry, which is like... I tried my best. Either way, its cry is hilarious. Unknown Dungeon, sadly. Kanto exclusive. But hey, it gets an evolution to Electivire, and people went nuts when Electivire was first revealed, because it had insane coverage. Pretty much any move you wanted, you could get. Except for a good physical electric move, which is why Electivire was never good. So if you want to see more of Electivire, you're going to be seeing a lot of it in the upcoming super effective scam video, or the super effective swindle. Mr. Mime! Previously in the Unknown Dungeon, but I think you can now actually get it in the Safari Zone. That's kind of weird, but yeah, you can get it in the Safari Zone. It's a decently fast Psychic type. A little bit underleveled when you get it, though. I think it's overall better than Drowsy, because it's faster and stronger. There you go. But I'd rather use Girafarig. Actually, I'd rather use Alakazam. And this thing still creeps me out. Why in the world did they go with this design? Smeargle! This thing's a worse artist than I am, that's really saying something. So Smeargle's whole gimmick is that it can learn any move, almost any move. But the opponent has to use the move first, and then you can use Sketch to get the move permanently. How are you setting that up? You're not. You're never setting this up to do anything. It's worthless. And the best moves in the game probably aren't going to do anything when you have Smeargle stats. They're really bad. This thing is pretty useful and competitive because you do stuff that doesn't actually require you to use your stats. And you can just type what move you want into the simulator you're using. If you have to actually try and copy the moves in an in-game playthrough, good luck, pal. No. I think Art School, it's not for you, buddy. Find a different line of work. This ain't a smear campaign, it's the truth. Far-fetched! Imagine being outclassed by Pidgey. It's better than Hoppip. At least it can attack. Yeah. Farfetch'd sucks. More at 11. But hey, at least it's intentionally bad, right? Because it's literally a joke Pokemon. People are saying it's better than Pidgey? No, it's not. Natu! Has a big role in Mystery Dungeon, I think. It's okay. You get in the Ruins Alph. I think you need Surf to actually get to the area where you can get this thing. Very underwhelming stats. Maybe top of C. Psychic is pretty useful. You have way better Psychic options. But if you really like it, I guess you could go with this. Upon further review. This thing's really bad. Oh my goodness. Look at Xatu's move pool. Level 6 you get Nightshade. Your next attacking move is Ominous Wind. Level 47. I guess you could use an 80 base power Future Sight at level 42? At level 59 you get Psychic. Please don't demonetize this stream. I know that was scary. Honestly, worse than Steelix? You know what? I don't even think that's Onyx propaganda. I agree. Qwilfish! No prizes for guessing where this goes. Plop! Into the sea! At least Overquill exists, but not in this game. Go ahead and splish and splash around with some very mediocre water moves. Wow, the same typing as Tentacool. Where does Tentacool go? I think it's also gonna go ahead and take a swim. But it's definitely better than Qwilfish. Tentacruel is actually kinda fast, with decent special attack. Tentacruel's actually not bad at all. If you just wanted to pick a Pokemon to start surfing, Tentacruel, pretty good. I don't think it earns that Gen 1 sprite. Back in Gen 1 it had 120 special attack. It was actually Chad, but it really suffered from the special split. Meaning the Gen 1 special split. Big nerf from that. Pretty much unaffected by the physical special split that happened in Gen 4. Floating around in the sea, where it belongs. Krabby. Very nearly escapes the sea. But all water types hear the call. So here's the thing, if this thing actually got Crab Hammer, it would be good. In fact, it would be so good I would probably put it in like high B. Crab Hammer is like level 50. Have fun waddling in those shallow shores of the sea tier. This is probably one of the Pokemon that stood to benefit the most from the physical special split, and they still did it dirty. So you can fish with an Old Rod to get a Krabby in Cherry Grove City. And Krabby itself, not even Kingler, has 105 base attack. That's pretty good. There you go. Krabby, use your Vice Grip, Shuckle. So your rival robs a guy, steals some of his Pokemon, but he doesn't steal Shuckle. That's the reason why he didn't. Horrendous. This thing does nothing. This thing does nothing except look pretty cute. And you can convert berries into berry juice by making it hold berries. Apparently you can't actually get those into rare candies. That's a myth. Worthless on offense, which is all I care about. But if you get to level 48, you can power trick and then die because you had 5 base speed and got hit. No. Rollout is surprisingly amazing with Shuckle. I mean, surprising because that would surprise me. I don't believe you. But people really like Shuckle, so people will go to any length to try and justify using Shuckle. Here's the only justification you need, if you like it. But don't pretend that it's good. Staryu. Yeah! Is this a C-tier Pokemon? I'm actually gonna put it up here. Superstar! So what do you do with Staryu? You catch it. It's a Water Stone evolution, so I guess I hope you got a Water Stone. You can immediately Stone Evolution it up to Starmie, who I think is the best recipient in the game for TMs. You can give it Surf, you can give it Thunderbolt, eventually. You can give it Ice Beam, eventually. And you can give it Psychic. And that's it. It defeats pretty much everything in the game except Red's Snorlax. That's about it. If you're looking for a place to invest your TMs, this is it. The only issue is a lot of those TMs are either Kanto or Voltorb Flip. So you're gonna have to actually play Voltorb Flip because you can't just buy coins in this game. That's a little unfortunate, but this is basically fast stab surf that eventually gets even better. Shellder and Cloyster. Hey, it's a water type. You can stone evolution it immediately up to Cloyster. So stab water and ice is pretty useful. But this ain't Gen 5 shell smashing Cloyster that's actually running through teams. It's not actually that slow. I mean, it's pretty slow, but it's not as slow as you might think. And Stab Surf is not that bad, right? It's okay. Into the sea. Shellder actually can get Icicle Spear, and you do have Skill Link. So you'll get a guaranteed 5 hits for a total of 50 base power. No thanks. Corsola. So the C tier is for water Pokemon, right? It's just for them because water Pokemon tend to be a step above everything else. Not you. No. No! You will sink! It's better than Spinarak. It's about it. Horrific. This thing is so bad, Game Freak literally killed it and made it better. Useless offensive stats. Shockingly bad typing, because you pair it with rock. It's not even cute. Look how lazy this design is. It's like a clip art piece of coral that they just drew a smiley face on, and they left for the day. I guess they had something else to do. No redemption for this thing. At the bottom where coral belongs. Remoraid and Octillery. Weirdest evolution in the series? It makes a little bit more sense if you think of it as like a gun to like a tank in terms of just like artillery instead of like a Remora to an octopus. Where do you think this goes? Take a swim. It basically gets a bunch of like artillery moves, a bunch of beams. But its stats are just slow, but yeah, pretty good move pool. Chinchou. It's pretty dark under the sea. Probably want some lighting. We'll put it up here. So Chinchou, people love this thing. Amazing typing. Water electric? Nice. Great stabs. Slow with bad offense. Take a swim. If this was faster, it would obviously be high B, but no, it's always moving second. So you can see floating at the very top of the sea. Really good dual types. Too slow. Seal! I'm gonna put as much effort into this evaluation as Game Freak did into the naming. See it there. I'm actually gonna put a little bit more effort. Water Ice Stab is really good. It's not that slow, but it's defensively leaning, which is not what you want. Lickitung! Lucky enough to gain a Gen 4 evolution. All you need to do is learn Rollout, and then you can evolve into Licky Licky. Your stats go up. A little bit. And you're still a normal type. Very good moveset, but just horrible stats to actually use them. Really slow, and mediocre offenses. Honestly, this thing peaked in the Pokemon Stadium Sushi Go Round minigame. Tangela received another Gen 4 evolution. It can now become the Grass Caveman, Tangrowth, with actually very good stats. It's still a grass type though, and you get it kinda late, so it's gonna be underleveled. I think it escapes D tier barely. Honestly, I'm gonna put it like as the worst of this grass troop. It's actually the best out of them, but you get it later, and it's gonna be more underleveled comparatively. But for a grass type, it's not bad. Imagine putting it in the lower half of the C tier and saying that it's comparatively not bad. Yikes. These stats are good. Ooh, look at this. Not bad. Slow though. And very weird stat distribution, so it has better special attack than attack, even though it's got like this big lumbering design. I don't get it. Same deal with Sceptile. I don't know why Sceptile has better special attack than physical attack, even though its signature move is Leaf Blade, which is physical. Evolutions. So you guys already know I don't really like Evolutions. They're all pure types, which I'm not a fan of. How you get Eevee in this game is that Bill hands you an Eevee in Goldenrod City. In Generation 2, it was level 20, which was perfectly fine for that point in the game, but you couldn't actually get the Evolution Stones until Kanto. In this game, you can get the Evolution Stones, but Eevee is level 5. Uh-oh. So yeah, that makes all of these pretty close to unusable, but somebody pointed out there is slight upside to that, and that level 5 means it's, I guess, easier for you to get moves, but pretty sad upside. So Vaporeon. Vaporeon itself is fine. It's definitely a C-tier Pokemon. It's got very good stats. It's actually got surprisingly high special attack, but it's really slow, so you're gonna get hit first. And they're gonna respond with a decently strong attack. I wish it was level 20 though. Actually gonna drop this down. Level 5 is really bad. Jolteon! Definitely the best stone evolution. It's really fast! I hope you get Thunderbolt, which you can do by giving it the Thunderbolt TM. Hope you like Voltorb Flip. Other than that, you're Thundershocking. because it doesn't actually get discharge. It's very fast though, so I think we're just gonna put it at the very bottom of B. If you want to invest in it, if you really like it, you can. Flareon. Physical special split has occurred. We finally get to use fire moves with our 130 base attack. And our best physical fire move is Fire Fang. You can't be serious. You can still use your special attack. 90 is not awful, but wow. No Flare Blitz really, really stinks. And I guess in the lore, right, 3 evolutions died in the burned tower, and then they were resurrected by Ho-Oh and became the legendary beasts. Imagine having Flash Fire and still dying in a fire. Pathetic. Espeon. Definitely the best of the evolutions because you don't even need the stone. It's just friendship during the day. Why aren't you using Alakazam? You should just use Alakazam. It's definitely the best of these psychic types, if you can get it, and if you can raise it from level 5. I don't think it's worth it. I think you should just be using Alakazam. But if you're an Eevee fan, Espeon's pretty good. I wish it came at a higher level, and the move pool, like, doesn't exist. It's like confusion. We're actually gonna move Espeon lower. Horrible starting level, and its move pool just sucks. If you evolve it by level 15, you'll get Confusion, which you're stuck with until level 36, and you get Psybeam, wow. And other than that, you can use Shadow Ball, and that's about it. Good stats, though. There's like a smudge on the tier list here. We can just move it somewhere out of the way. There, I guess.
Hold it!
Hey, post-production imported cheese here. Initially, this is where the Umbreon analysis ended, but I figured maybe I should actually talk about why it's bad. Underleveled, annoying evolution method, slow, defensive, 0 offensive presence. There you go. Bad. Umbreon fans, just wait for Coliseum. It's actually good there. I've got bad news for you. Horsey! Well, it's got C in the name. There you go. You can actually evolve it to Kingdra. Put it there-ish. So Kingdra has like 95 in like all of its stats. Really annoying to get to Kingdra though, because you need the Dragon Scale evolution. But I think you can actually get Dragon Pulse in this game, so that's a nice secondary stab option. We'll put it above Psyduck. Delibird. We've got Express Delivery. Horrible. Joke stats. Joke Pokemon. Joke signature move. Are you laughing? I don't think it's that funny. Don't waste your time with this thing. Cool name though, I never realized that it's a pun on delivered. Delibird, delivered, that's nice. Swinub. They gave it a new evolution in Generation 4. We've got prehistoric power now that we can become Mamoswine. There's no way that its best physical move is Ice Fang, right? They wouldn't do that. There's no way. That's what they did. Its best physical move is Ice Fang. It's got really good stats as Mamoswine. Really good. And you get Stab Earthquake. You can't go that wrong with that. Unfortunately, it's really underleveled when you get it, because it's Ice Path. Stab Earthquake off 130 base attack, that's really good. And Ice Fang isn't horrible, it's just you really wish you had Icicle Crash. And it's not that slow. I think it's faster than some people might expect. It's like base 80. But I think it's one of the winners from the Gen 4 evolution, and it's still stuck in C. That's kind of sad. Look at this, Chad. Look at this. We're scaling the mountain. I really like Mamoswine. Look at this. Oh. And just a heads up, this is pretty much the part of the list where everything is going to be too late to be useful. So these are probably going to speed up quite a bit. Gligar. It was given a Gen 4 evolution into Gliscor, who is maybe one of the, I think, best balanced Pokemon in the game. Very solid defense, and it can actually hit back. All you need to evolve it is a Razor Fang, which is, the Razor Fang is post-game from the Battle Frontier. Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Ah! It's better than Spinarak. Super late game, super underleveled, and the level up move pool is a disgrace. Tremble mortals and despair. This is what you're using if you're using Gligar. D. Teddiursa. Ursaluna does not exist yet. Very sad. Teddiursa, if you got it earlier, would probably be with Granbull. It's basically Granbull, but like a little bit better, because it's a little bit stronger. But you get Granbull way earlier than Teddiursa. But hey, it's certainly usable if you want to invest in it. It's just really late. This is in D for availability. In terms of actual power once you get it, it's fine. That's pretty much exactly what I would say about Phanpy and the Dawn fan. Except I think Dawn fan's a better type. I'd rather have Stab Ground than Stab Normal. I guess if you think about super meta availability, Donphan was one of the earliest available Gen 2 Pokemon because it was in the first movie, and it lost, so it's about what you can expect. Mantine. You can find this Pokemon gracefully gliding above the sea. Not on this list, though. Very, like, okay-ish stats. You actually get this, I don't know why its Pokedex number is so late, but you can get this near Cianwood City. I remember because I tried to catch this in Gen 2. I was really excited to find it, but my box was full and I couldn't catch it. You had to actually switch your boxes manually back then. We'll pair it with Remoraid. They're good friends. Skarmory. I get a couple comments a week about how in the original Gen 2 list I said Skarmory was Kanto exclusive, and it's not. You can actually get it on the route south of Blackthorn. D. Way too late, underleveled, defensively leaning, but it's really cool. I think Steelix might be better than Skarmory since you get Steelix much earlier. The Onix lobby wins again, you're right, I agree. Doduo. Pretty much strictly better than Spearow? I guess 2 heads are better than 1, and its stats get even better when it evolves to Dodrio, so I guess 3 heads are better than 2. This used to be almost Kanto, you got it right before Victory Road, but now you can actually get it in the Safari Zone, but by that time, you've already been to a safari in Kenya, right? You don't need this. So even though it is like strictly better than Spearow, I think the fact that it's available so much later makes it much worse, but it's a very decent investment. It's fast and it's strong, which is what you want. It's just kinda late compared to Spearow. Ponyta. This is a pseudo-Kanto Pokemon. You get it right before the League. So you are in Kanto, but you still haven't fought the League yet. Really late, really underleveled, and Ponyta sucks. Takes until level 40 to evolve into Rapidash, who still isn't that good. Is Friendship magic? No, it's D tier. But if you're really hurting for a fire type, I guess you could use this, but why aren't you using Magmar? Why aren't you using Growlithe? Why aren't you using Vulpix? Why aren't you using Tentacruel? You gotta make a lot of wrong choices before you decide to pick this as your not-so-trusty steed. Not recommended. Cubone! Used to be Kanto exclusive, but now you can find it in the Safari Zone in Johto. So Cubone itself kinda sucks, but if you get a thick club, it doubles its attack, which is really good. It makes it actually kind of okay. How do you get a thick club? So it's held by Wild Cubone sometimes. What does sometimes mean? 5% of the time. Yikes. And this is in the Safari Zone, so the best thing you can do is lead with a compound-ized Pokemon, and that increases the rate at which Wild Cubone hold thick clubs, but you still have to actually catch them. You can't just steal them with Thief. So if you catch a bunch of Cubone, and one of them has a thick club, then Cubone is pretty good, but you're probably not going to do that. So if you just catch a vanilla Cubone that ain't thick, you end up with pretty much just slower Diglett or later Sandshrew. I guess you could give it points for being able to use, like, Bone Meringue and, like, not having to use Earthquake on it, but maybe you could just use a Pokemon that learns Earthquake naturally. Like this thing. Kangaskhan! I think there was an episode where they talked like that, right? So Kangaskhan, also previously a Kanto exclusive, but now you can find it in the Safari Zone. Surprisingly fast, and with okay stats. It's an okay normal type, but it's gonna be a bit underleveled by the time you get it. Where's Snubbull? Here's the normal squad. I think it's a little bit better than Stantler. Is it better than Stantler? No, it's not. I think it's better than Stantler once you get it, but you get Stantler quite a bit earlier. I really wish that Kangaskhan were as buff as an actual kangaroo. If you've seen actual kangaroos, the name of that horrible movie should have been Kangaroo Jacked. They are insanely buff. Rhyhorn. It's actually better than Geodude, but you can get Geodude super duper early, just waltz into the Dark Cave, they're everywhere. And Rhyhorn is in the Safari Zone, so it's going to be underleveled, and you have to wait way longer. But its stats are slightly better than Golem's. I think the difference in availability is huge. So huge that I'm just gonna put this, I think, next to Sudowoodo. And the evolution to Rhydon is really late, level 42. Rhyhorn itself is basically Geodude. They're almost the exact same stats, it's kinda weird. Something we should also mention is that the later in the game you get a Pokemon, the later it's able to build up effort values. And it takes a lot of knockouts to actually max out your EVs. So that's another advantage that early Pokemon get over later Pokemon. Justice for Murkrow. So Murkrow used to be Kanto exclusive, but now it's in the Safari Zone. Not only that, it gets an amazing evolution into Honchkrow. I love the design, and it's got amazing offensive stats, which is exactly what you want. All you need is a Duskstone, which... A Duskstone is Kanto exclusive? Oh my god, this thing's horrible! No! Why? Oh, it was almost good. It was almost good. If you could Duskstone it in Johto, we're talking low A, but no. You're stuck with Murkrow, who honestly, it's not that bad. It's got like, I think 85 offenses. Actually, that is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. No! If only you could get a Duskstone. Honchkrow is so much better than Murkrow. It's not even close. It is not even close. But you are also not even close to getting that Duskstone, so whoops. Sad. Fun fact though, apparently the word honcho comes from Japanese, and I never realized that. I always thought it was like Italian, but no, it's honcho, which means like division head. And I guess that somehow just became an English word. Houndoom. I went through the effort to actually get this Houndoge from the Showdown April Fool's sprites. For some reason, this is Kanto exclusive. Why? If you told me that you didn't like Gen 2 games just because of the distribution of Pokemon and you cited Houndour and Houndoom as an example, I would understand why you didn't like Gen 2. Why in the world is this Kanto exclusive? If it wasn't, I would probably put it in S. If you got this at like Goldenrod City, which is where I think you could get it, it would be, I think, S. Amazing offensive dual typing. Good stats. But it's not in the game. What a shame. Can you not find it in the route before the Safari Zone? No. This one I checked. Because I was so sure that they made it obtainable. They didn't. This is a crime. Slugma. Are you ready to become a Slugma male? This thing used to be in the Unown dungeon, but Game Freak decided they couldn't lock such power away. Instead, if you utilize the power of the World Wide Web, you can look up a code based on your trainer ID that will allow you to become a Slugma male while you're still in Johto. What benefits do Slugma males get? I don't know, man. This thing sucks. Slow. Slow as balls. Slugma balls. Awful. And when it evolves, it gains a dual typing and actually gets worse. Imagine that. Why? Late evolution. Why did I put this in C? I think Flareon's better. I think Natu's better. No, it's not. Congratulations, Slugma. Ah yes, my favorite Gen 2 Hoenmon. Sounds about right. Nobody remembers this thing. That's how it should be. Let us wipe this thing from our collective memories. And maybe Game Freak will go ahead and actually delete it. Sneasel! So it got massive upgrades. Probably one of the biggest benefactors of Gen 4. Both of its types were special. Now it can actually use Stab off of its physical stats. And it got an evolution up into Weavile, who actually has amazing stats. Fast and strong, exactly what you need. So if you catch one in Ice Path, then... Oh, you could catch one in Ice Path in Crystal, but now it's post-game in Mount Silver. Okay, well that's a shame. Why? If you could still catch one in Ice Path, and if you could actually evolve it before the League, it would definitely be better than Swinub, but nope. Unown Dungeon. Very good quote by Armageddon 390. Like all Johto Pokemon, it lives in Kanto. Misdreavus gained a new evolution in Gen 4, and it joins Murkrow because you can also find it in the Safari Zone, no longer Mount Silver exclusive. All you need to evolve it up into a Mismagius is a Dusk. Stuff. Same as Murkrow. Oh my god, this thing's horrible! Why? I think Murkrow's better. Misdreavus on its own is okay. Its stats aren't the worst thing ever, but it's gonna be underleveled by the time you get it, and you cannot unlock its much better Mismagius form until the game's already over. Game Freak, please. Porygon! Unown Dungeon. Normal type, who cares? I don't even know if you can get Porygon Z in this game. It doesn't matter, but I don't think you can. Just because the Johto Dex doesn't even list Porygon Z. It's got good special attack, but it's not in the game. And it's a normal type. Fun fact though, before we actually publish a video here, we have to run what's actually called the Pokemon check, because of the Pokemon episode where Porygon caused a bunch of seizures. And it wasn't even Porygon's fault, it was Pikachu's fault. Nobody punished Pikachu. Justice for Porygon. Why isn't this an electric type, by the way? Chansey! Defensive normal type in Kanto. Pass. Why isn't this a fairy type, by the way? Lapras! I don't know why it's so late in the Pokedex, but you can get this thing pretty early, as soon as you get Surf. It's in Union Cave on Friday. Is this actually a C-tier Pokemon? Yeah, maybe top of the C. So Water Ice Stab, of the Pokemon that actually have Water Ice Stab, it's definitely the best. I think we can surf on out of the sea. We can honestly like waddle onto land on our little flippers. We're gonna take a little trip. Sparrow Wooper. Water Ice Stab is not bad. I just wish it was a little faster. Oh yeah, and it also has a good TM learn set. You get like Thunderbolt, Psychic, I think it's Natural Ice Beam. It's not bad at all, it's just kind of slow. Nobody knows the mysterious ways of our Lord. Unknown Dungeon. Kanto exclusive. Same with Kabuto. Also, what a lazy name. So Kabuto literally means helmet. They just didn't translate it. Okay, sure. Aerodactyl. It's really fast. Not fast enough to actually be available in the game, though. Uh-oh. Snorlax. Really strong, but super slow, right? You are never going first. It actually comes at a decent level. It's pretty much the only, like, normal Pokemon in Kanto that actually comes at an okay level. It's like level 50, but I mean, it's a Kanto exclusive, so you don't really get to use it. And you're always going second, so sorry. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Yeah, pretty much all of these are also just post-game, and they're not going to be doing anything. They're going to be critically underleveled, because you do get them in their base forms. But you get to be in the list, that's something. Articuno, Seafoam Islands. I mean, it's Kanto exclusive, but I mean, it's okay. You can Ice Beam stuff. Zapdos, still at the power plant. Really strong Pokemon. Wish it was in the game. Probably better than Articuno. Moltos, in Mount Silver. Well, that's really, really late. You can basically only use it for red, and you know what? You're not going to. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. The 3 legendary beasts. We'll do Suicune first because it's the easiest because you can't use it. It's chillin' in Cerulean Cape, being pursued by a guy who really likes Suicune. Makes me a little uncomfortable, honestly. But Raikou and Entei you can still catch in Johto, like normally, right after the Burn Tower event. So Raikou, we're actually gonna put it in S with a massive asterisk. So if you can catch it as soon as the event begins, which I mean, if you're like really lucky, yeah, I guess you can, then yeah, obviously it's insane, right? It's level 40 and it fries everything. But I mean, you're not gonna do that, right? The average result, considering all the work you have to put in and like the setups that you might do, it's probably gonna end up being like a B level, like a B tier Pokemon. It all depends on when you catch it. The earlier you catch it, the better it is. This is the best case scenario. I don't think it's actually gonna be an S tier Pokemon in your playthrough, but it can be. Entei, one of the major characters in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. So I played 3 Houses in Japanese, and there's a recurring character called the Flame Emperor. And they keep talking about Entei. Big Entei fans, because Entei literally means Flame Emperor. What is this thing the Emperor of? Not the in-game run. It's okay. So I'm giving it the same generous treatment, where assuming you catch it immediately, yeah, it's pretty strong. You're not going to, though. Best case scenario, top of B. Worst case scenario, probably like middling of C. Stronger the earlier you catch it. But I mean, what do you expect from improved Flareon? And Entei, it truly does carry on the spirit of Flareon, because it doesn't even get Flare Blitz. Dratini, obtainable surprisingly early, because you can actually get it from the Goldenrod Game Corner, so I hope you like Voltorb Flip. You can also get it from the Safari Zone and the Dragon's Den, and the Dragon's Den event one actually has extreme speed. That one is way too late though, so if you're gonna be using this, it's gonna be because you're a Voltorb Flip god. It gets Dragon Rage really early. Dragon Rage, which, I mean, 40 set damage at that point in the game, that's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it at the top of C. Obviously, Dragonite is absurd, right? It's incredibly powerful, especially with the physical special split. You don't get a Dragonite, right? You get a Dratini, and you gotta work. If you work, it's ridiculous. Is it worth it? I don't think so. C tier. Pretty much everything about that also applies to Larvitar. So Larvitar used to be Mount Silver. You can now actually get it in the Safari Zone. But because it's later than Dratini, it's going to be even more underleveled. So you have to put in even more work relatively. And at the end, you get Tyranitar, who is amazing. Is it worth it? I don't think so. And keep in mind, these Pokemon evolve into their second forms at like level 30, so you're stuck with these terrible base forms for quite a while. And also, they're both in the slow experience group, so they level up more slowly than most Pokemon around their level. Very, very, very difficult to raise. Lugia and Ho-Oh, the cover legendaries. I mean, if they're on the front of the game, they gotta be pretty good, right? Yeah. So the problem that most cover legendaries have is that you get them and then the game ends. It's probably worst in Gen 5 where you literally use them in one battle, right? You use them and then the main story's over. But in this game, you basically have the entire last third to use them, because you have the League, which is the hardest part of the game. Then you have all of Kanto, which has buffed gym leaders. And then, of course, Red. Why would you not use these Pokemon who have insane stats, right? It's unfair. As it should be, right? They are legendaries. Ho-Oh is definitely better because it's got better offensive typing, and it has physical Sacred Fire, so just melt anything that opposes you. Lugia, no slouch on its own, even though it does have weird kind of humanish hands that I don't really like. Why is this a Psychic type, by the way? In the base games, they were both side quests. But in the remakes, they are actually mandatory, so there's no opportunity cost to getting these. You will encounter them, so you should catch them. And I recommend you use them, because they're really, really strong. Alright, last 3 Pokemon. Not much to say about these. Mewtwo. Has science gone too far? Maybe, but it also didn't go far fast enough, because it's in the Unknown Dungeon. It's literally in the Unknown Dungeon, right? That's where you catch it. And then Mew and Celebi are just unobtainable. So, they really can't be ranked. Why isn't this a Fairy type, by the way? And there we go. We've done it. This is our Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver in-game tier list. It only took us 6 hours and 48 minutes. As you can see, I've got to use synthesis, right? The leaf is in really bad shape here. But don't worry. Not sponsored, but we have the limited edition Pepsi Zero Fried Chicken Companion. Yeah, apparently this is meant to be drunk with fried chicken. It's also clear. I don't know if you can see it. It's not actually black, but it is clear Pepsi that's supposed to be for fried chicken. Not sponsored, by the way. But it's important to stay hydrated as a plant. I guess I'll try this. Yep, it just tastes like Pepsi, but it's like slightly less sweet. It's really weird that it's clear. And I don't have any fried chicken. That's going to be in the Gen 3 starter analysis, I guess. Thanks again for watching the premium. I hope you enjoyed. And now, it is time for me to make like a grass type and leaf. Horrible. Horrible. Please subscribe.